This man is George H.W. Bush. He was born in Massachusetts on June 12, 1924. On his 18th birthday, he joined the Navy as a fighter pilot, becoming the youngest pilot in the Navy, and eventually was awarded the Flying Cross for his bravery. After the war, he attended Yale University and received a finance degree.
After the war in 1953, Bush created an oil industry to help fund his political campaign and demonstrate his knowledge of finance. He then ran for Senate twice, and he failed both times. After being appointed to positions such as the U.S. Ambassador to the UN, the Director of the CIA, and Liaison to China, he served for 2 terms as Vice President under Ronald Reagan. After Bush was a Vice President for Ronald Reagan, he was elected President in 1988, and with this brought new policies, invasions, and change. One of these policies was the No New Taxes policy, which he often used in his campaign speeches such as this one.
Who will not raise taxes. My opponent now says he'll raise them as a last resort or a third resort. But when a politician talks like that, you know that's one resort he'll be checking into. And my opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no. And they'll push, and I'll say no, and they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new taxes. I say it without boast or bravado. I've fought for my country, I've served, I've built, and I'll go from the hills to the hollows, from the cities to the suburbs, to the loneliest town on the quietest street, to take our message of hope and growth for every American, to every American. I will keep America moving forward, always forward, for a better America, for an endless, enduring dream and 1,000 points of light. This is my mission, and I will complete it.
He ultimately failed because Bush had to raise taxes in order to lower the deficit. However, policies such as extending the Clean Air Act put limits on pollution in order to decrease ozone depletion. Throughout his presidency, Bush's foreign policy was more popular with the people. He overthrew dictator Manuel Noriega in Panama, who was terrorizing Americans living there and smuggling drugs. He invaded Kuwait and Iraq in order to stop Saddam Hussein from conquering Kuwait and taking the oil fields. He also invaded Somalia to overthrow the warlords holding the capital Mogadishu hostage. Finally, he signed the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty with Russia, which had each country reduce the number of nuclear weapons they could possess. In conclusion, Bush's domestic policy was lacking, with only the Clean Air Act standing out. He also was not able to keep the promise he had made of no new taxes, which hurt his reputation. However, his foreign policy is what pushed his administration forward. With feats such as defeating Saddam Hussein and nuclear reduction with Russia, his foreign policy was much stronger.